This is Miller Philosopher. I was watching another Lord of the Rings YouTube recently, and they mentioned receiving criticism for not being a true Tolkien fan because they hadn't read the books first. They entered the Legendarium through Peter Jackson's movies, something that's common among many millennials who are fans. That struck a chord with me, and I have occasionally received similar comments myself, especially because I tend to offer my own interpretations of Tolkien's themes and stories, which sometimes don't always align with the so-called orthodox views. Full disclosure, my first introduction to Tolkien wasn't through the books nor through the trilogy, but it was through the old Rankin Bass animation films, The Hobbit and Return of the King. I tried reading The Fellowship of the Ring a couple of times, but I couldn't get past the infamous tree descriptions in the Shire. You know the ones I'm talking about. Still, I wasn't completely unaware. Before the trilogy hit theaters, I had skimmed parts of the unfinished tales at my local bookstore, which had a Tolkien section. I didn't do a deep dive, but I do remember the antique smell of the paper books in the back and how it smelled just kind of ancient in a way, which kind of almost brought me into that world a little bit at least. But that being said, when Fellowship of the Ring did premiere, I wasn't totally in the dark like many other of the moviegoers who I went with. But it still felt new to me, and it hit me hard. So hard that, in fact, it drove me straight into the Silmarillion. And from there, my journey truly begins. So, all these experiences made me ask, what defines a real Tolkien fan to begin with? Is it someone who's only familiar with the TVs or movie adaptations? Are they just casuals? Do they truly understand the weight of Tolkien's themes? Or are they just drawn to the spectacle of elves and men and orcs clashing in epic battles? And if that's not enough, then who are the true fans? Those who've read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings? Or those who've tackled the Silmarillion in all of its versions? Or maybe the ones who've actually poured or found all of Tolkien's letters and notes and essays over the decades? Who decides these qualifications? Who watches the watchers? And who gets to be the gatekeepers of the fandom, much less be promoted to gatekeeper in the first place? These are questions that are not unique to Tolkien's Legendarium either. They apply to every major franchise that studios have scooped up in hopes of making blockbuster successes. And they become louder with each new adaptation, especially after Rings of Power debuted on Amazon. Now, setting aside production issues, costume quality, and uneven writing quality, some of which actually I liked and others I did not, and I've did videos on this before, the online discourse became a battlefield basically. People accusing each other of not being true Tolkien fans. Some claim that no real fan would ever accept what Amazon or even what Peter Jackson put on screen. Others felt that, well, even if that wasn't the case, that Tolkien himself was really just a sexist person from an outdated age to begin with, and that it deserved to be changed. Now, honestly, I found this whole bit to be ridiculous and toxic on all sides altogether. I mean, I believe art is in the eye of the beholder. What it means to each person is deeply subjective, shaped by their own life experiences. My own path in the Middle-earth was unconventional. And while I've sometimes felt compelled to defend traditional interpretations, I've also come to realize that doing so made me hypocritical, if I'm honest. Everyone's journey is different. Middle-earth is a fictional world that was handcrafted by a brilliant author, but it's not a religion. Many still treat it that way though, because that's human nature. We tend to deify things that move us at particular points in our lives where we need that kind of inspiration. And that's one of the reasons I started this YouTube channel to begin with. Not to make money or to rehash familiar takes. Even though this channel is monetized, I barely make any money off it, but I still do what I do. But rather to share what makes these stories special to me. That's something that no one else can replicate. And the same goes for every other Tolkien fan out there as well. Headcanon does have its place. Much of Tolkien's lore is inconsistent to begin with, whether it's the idea of the Valar actually having children, The shifting names of characters like Melkor or Aragorn or even Gil-galad, or characters that were created for the stories but turn out to be missing and removed altogether. There's room basically to imagine, reinterpret, and to expand the stories and characters in ways that, in a way, kind of make sense to us that aren't sacrilegious either. So to me, the only true Tolkien fan is someone who's been inspired by his ideas, regardless of the medium, and who's felt a deep and personal impact with that. Not someone who's just doing this because it's trendy, which, yes, those people exist, but people who do deeply love these stories. And I see these people all the time online and at conventions who cosplay, people online who create videos and express their love for these characters and these worlds. And no, not all that is going to be lore accurate, but at the very least, it's heartfelt, it's authentic. Something in a legendarium speaks to them, and it's more than just a collection of books and movies from a long-dead author. After all, art evolves just as life evolves and people evolve, yet the DNA still remains the same. But those are my thoughts on this, and this is another philosopher. Have a good day.